一度了解を押していただいてすみません。
So I welcome you all to today's session. This session is very important for what International Society of Bengal Studies has been trying to achieve in last 1 year. I'm sorry. On the occasion of 50th year of Bangladesh's independence, the International Society of Bengal Studies has organized 3 webinars. We started on 26th of March 2021. We had a 2 days webinar on 26th and 27th. Then we had another webinar on 17th, 18th and 19th September 2021. And then the third webinar on 14th, 15th and 16th December 2021. Each of the dates were selected based on historically important dates for Bangladesh's march towards liberation. We had 52 lectures from 9 countries, from the citizens of 9 countries. And we are planning to publish a book. We are supposed to release the book today itself, but because we have not received a few very important articles yet, we are looking forward to publish that soon. What we have tried is that this series should not be something where only celebration becomes a very important thing. So in the first webinar, we didn't invite any Bangladeshi speaker except, of course, in the opening session, Professor Rafiqullah Khan was there. In the second session, we had a mixed speakers group. And in the third session, we had the speakers who were invited and also those who responded to our call for papers. This is the closing ceremony of this 1 year long celebration of Bangladesh's independence. And we are happy to have with us today Professor Horiguchi, Professor Gopadotto Bhomik, and Professor Rafiqullah Khan. We have invited Professor Gopadotto Bhomik to preside over this session. I must say that the fact that the founder of Japan Bangladesh Society is with us today to deliver the valedictory lecture, and who also worked as the ambassador of Japan to Bangladesh, is really an honor for us. We are so thankful to you, sir, for joining us. Professor Gopadotto Bhomik was a teacher in Jadavpur University, Department of Bengali. She has also worked, apart from other administrative responsibilities, as the Vice Chancellor of Gaurabanga University in West Bengal. The fact that we are today, now we'll be moving towards the lecture. I hand over to Professor Gopa Dotto Bhomik. Thank you, Gopadi, for joining us and agreeing to preside over this session.
Thank you, Amitabh. I am extremely grateful as you have invited me to preside over the valedictory session. I will not waste your time. I will go straight to the introduction of our illustrious speakers. Professor Horiguchi, we are very lucky to have him today, and he has a rather formidable career. Born in Chiba Prefecture in 1943, Professor Horiguchi, please excuse my wrong pronunciations. I am not accustomed with the Japanese language, so I may be very bad in pronouncing.
Never mind.
After graduating from the University of Tokyo with a degree in international relations, he joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan. He completed his postgraduate at Yale University and obtained an MA in international relations. He served at the Embassy of the Republic of Korea and was representative of the Embassy of Japan in the People's Republic of China. He served as the head of the divisions of law of the sea in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the director at the entry division of the Immigration Bureau of the Ministry of Justice. He later served as minister at the Permanent Mission of Japan to the United Nations. He then served as Consul General in Edinburgh. He was Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to Bangladesh from 2003 to 2006. Since 2007, he has been a member of the Supervisory Board of Tokyo Gakuin University, a national university corporations. He taught international relations at Tokyo Gakuin University, Waseda University, and Nihon University as a visiting professor. As for Tokyo Gakuin University, he also taught other regular lectures for 8 years. He established the Japan-Bangladesh Society and played its first president for 5 years. So it's quite formidable. We are extremely delighted to have you, sir. And now I will request you to present your valuable lecture.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your kind, introduction of me to such a distinguished member of this, meeting. Well, first, I'd like to express my deep thanks to Mr. Amitabha for making very troublesome communications with me, and also it is your kind, introduction of me. I'm very pleased to meet all of you here, and I'm so pleased to explain my experiences in this field. So, especially, I've been to the many international meetings that I feel very at home today in this evening to see such, wonderful colleagues here. Thank you very much. So, shall I start? So, shall I start? Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
Well,
yes, please.
Well, thank you very much. Well, today since this is the first opportunity to be invited to such such prestigious meeting, I prepared well, probably too much, I found that it would take too long time for me to read all of them. So I'm wondering which I'm going to take up. And the first one is the Japanese. Well, I wrote about the Japanese, who is called Mr. Bangladesh, because his sort of wide range and so long, years for strengthening between Japan and Bangladesh. It is unbelievably active in his life. Of course, he after say he was graduated of Tokyo University, he worked for the office of the how do I say local government. But anyway, we are very lucky to have such a person who can concentrate in himself simply for how do I say, making ways for the good relations between Japan and Bangladesh, and for how do I say, when introducing this Japanese to Bangladesh and introducing these Bangladesh people to Japanese people by strengthening the relations between the two countries in so many fields. So he died at the age of 66, but probably you may read through my report on what I'm going to say. This is really exceptional, and I'm very happy that we had him as a Japanese, and to make a very important works for making the roads and widening the roads and strengthening the roads between Bangladesh and Japan. It's really wonderful. So let me read through quickly about what I suppose all of you may have looked through this paper. So it's unnecessary for me to read all parts of it. So let me choose some parts. First, when how do I say, the big typhoon attacked Bangladesh and killed 200,000 people were killed. In Japan, we have many disasters, but that level of, how do I say, this disasters, not so often, in the Japanese case. But anyway, he spent many days on the streets, asking the money from the workers in the streets for the poor people in Bangladesh. So at that time, I'm afraid not many Japanese have heard the name of Bangladesh yet. But anyway, he did his best in collecting money and sent them to the Bangladesh. And also he well, after this, collections of the fund for those suffered from this Bangladesh, typhoon, and also he after that, yes, the independence war soon started, and he also continued his works in getting, mobilizing money, mobilizing the fund on the streets. You see, he's member of the parliament. No one of the member of parliament was there to go to the street and ask the trespassers, say, give money. Probably I can't do that, but he dared to do that, and that contributions had been appreciated so many people. So he, it's in one way, it's a very good, I'd say the word performance. He becomes so famous, and his efforts for the benefits of Bangladesh people has been realized among so many people, and then it will be soon reported in Bangladesh as well. So easily he came to be called Mr. Bangladesh. Not only in a small group, but wherever he may go in Japan, oh, Mr. Bangladesh is coming. It's really amazing. So anyway, we are very lucky to have such person at such a very important stage when the relationship between Bangladesh and Japan has just started. So when Mujibur Rahman visited Japan, he donated, complete after, how do you say, well, I'm not sure the term, but the Bengal tigers, the skin, how do you say, I don't know, anyway. So I myself went to Mr. Hayakawa. His son is a member of the Japan-Bangladesh Society. Since as my colleague just introduced, I had been actually ambassador woman to Japan. He was transferred to ambassador in the United Nations, and also he became vice minister of foreign ministry. He's a really active and smart diplomat. So he asked me to restart the Bangladesh Society. So I, made, since this is the first time for me to set up such kind of, organizations, I read a lot of books, and I asked the stories who have some experience in making such a group. So I walked around to get, that ideas, how to start. So actually, it's really hard. For 5 years, I did my best, and very happy. This is already bigger and bigger. And especially the committee for taking care of the Japanese business people. So now the number of Japanese companies who are investing here in Bangladesh has been increased a lot, very rapidly. And the main responsible person is Mr. Hayakawa, and he's owning the textile company. And we are very happy that he's making good jobs, and a number of Japanese companies joining that, the group. I mean, it's enhancing the such economic and commercial relations have been developing so fast. So, I'm very grateful to Ambassador Moman for asking me to begin that kind of work. It has been contributed in expanding the relations between Japan and Bangladesh. Unbelievable level. So this is one thing. And Mr. Hayakawa, let me go back a bit in the timeline. He led the Japanese government mission to the Bangladesh. I wrote in that paper, just let's see, what about that? Yes. Yes. March 1972, he led the organization composed of Japanese government delegations to Bangladesh for the first time. So this is the first visit for Mr. Hayakawa and for all the members of the Diet to go to, of course, to have been there. Probably this chance was the first time for them to hear about the country name of Bangladesh. So anyway, they were treated so well in Bangladesh. So all of them became a pro Bangladesh, congressmen. So I was very helpful for getting their help when we asked the finance ministry to allocate more, amounts of the budget for certain projects. So his idea is very good. Who should be invited in proceeding the way to advance the relationship between Bangladesh and Japan? So I learned it's very important to invite such, useful persons as a member of our group. So anyway, Mr. Hayakawa made that kind of contribution. And what I said in my paper, that he led the first government level mission to Bangladesh. So It's the very first one. And you know, so this more than 15 ministers of the Japanese government, ministries, there are 18 or 19 ministries. 15 of them participated in the first mission to Bangladesh. It's unthinkable. When after I served in the foreign ministry and organized that kind of visiting team, I can't ask 15 members of the Congress to participate in such certain limited purpose. So anyway, so it's Hayakawa who made that possible. So Mr. Hayakawa, we're very grateful Hayakawa for his many ideas and how do I say the will to finish them. I mean to realize the original purpose and then through the activity. It's really wonderful. We are very lucky to have Mr. Hayakawa in the beginning. And one thing I'd like to introduce in relation to Mr. Hayakawa, and it's the last one of Mr. Hayakawa. Mujib Rahman visited Japan. He presented complete outer, how do I say, Bengal tiger's skin. And in the beginning, Mr. Hayakawa, father, also, who made that very important in the beginning as the head of Japan Bangladesh society. He presented that skin, Bengal tiger skin, and he made how to say, put that head especially. Then he displayed, in his house in Tokyo. But after he died, his son, Osamu Hayakawa, thinking how to utilize this very important tiger's head. So when the chancellery of the Bangladesh embassy was opened very recently, so on that occasion, Osamu Hayakawa presented the tiger's head to the Bangladesh embassy. So when you visit your ambassador, Ambassador Shahabuddin, at his office, and you see this tiger's head, and you realize how Mr. Hayakawa made very important, contributions in paving the way, a pleasant, wonderful, situation, the wonderful, how do I say, relations between the two countries. So he died at early 66. It is too early. So I really wish to something happened to, make him live longer. Then it will be more helpful for the activities of Japan Bangladesh Society. So this is one report on Mr. Hayakawa. Then let me move to engineer training. Yes, let me introduce. Probably many of you are aware of the project of Miyazaki model, cooperation project. Probably all of you may have known about this project, but it is so important. Let me introduce the meaning or the important points or new points of this, Bangladesh Japan engineering training program shortly. So Miyazaki model, we say, because it has been studied from Miyazaki Prefecture. Miyazaki model, we say, is a human resources development and educational model that offers outstanding Bangladesh ICT engineers with Japanese language education and career training. So, some people interpret the importance of the project or progress of this project. Simply so far, the JICA provided all the necessary funds, but gradually the Bangladesh size, the players increasing an amount or percentage of the total fund, total resources necessary for carrying out this project. So this program becomes so important, as I said in my report. Just a minute. Ambassador Shahabuddin Ahmed, he wrote a very good report on the most recent, shape of this project. It's called the Miyazaki project, because Miyazaki Prefecture is a part of Kyushu Island. So that prefecture, studied with JICA people, and JICA also asked its counterpart in Bangladesh. So all of them developed the programs in such sort of meaningful way, which I'm going to explain. This program is called Miyazaki model. The Miyazaki Prefecture played the leading role in advancing this project. So especially this report, actually written by Ambassador Shahabuddin Ahmed, he concentrated on the fund sharing mechanism. So far, the JICA, board or 100% of the total cost, but gradually this cost has been borne by not only Bangladesh enterprises and Japanese enterprises as well. But what is very important is that, you see, it's not only, well, let me say a bit on the essence of this program. Yes, so this new program, which builds on the methods and achievements of the previous experience, has been modified in content, expanded in duration, and is being supported by private funding. So not only the quality of the program, but also the funding mechanism has been changed. As I said, formally in the beginning, JICA bared all the necessary costs, but gradually, the participating companies, bared at the beginning small percentage, but gradually it is expanding, and the companies that participate in the program is expanding, and so the JICA's, how do I say, percentage, the JICA's percentage of contribution is declining, and instead the private side, the increasing number of the necessary low budget has been funding by the private company or organizations. So it's called a self-sustained program. And Ambassador Shahabuddin said, or wrote in the paper the important points. Just a minute. Yes. He of course, very pleased by that changing, increasing amount of necessary funds. That stuff. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, Ambassador Shahabuddin said, stressed the importance of the work. Budget sharing has been shifted from JICA to private level, but I have to add one more important, which is very important as well. In what way? You see, well, formally, this project is just for Bangladesh. Bangladesh young people, gaining a necessary skill, and they start to contribute to the societies, not only in Bangladesh companies, but also to Japanese. But I'd like to stress, you see, not only the monetary level, but there's a new project aimed directly to solve the shortage of labor in Japan. So the benefits in Japanese side, formerly it was given only a little percentage, but now increasing the percentage of the weight with importance has been directed to that solution of the labor shortage in Japanese society. So this is the big difference, and very pleased with the development of this program. So increasing number of Japanese appreciate such way of thinking of the person related with the Japan-Bangladesh cooperation. So that's the point of this what I wish to say. And lastly, yes. Well, I thought today many, how do I say, listeners of the private people, with many scholars and others. So I wish to say that I haven't published the book on Bangladesh in Japanese for the first time in Japanese history. Can you believe that? And while Mr. Togawa, such able scholars on Bangladesh, but unbelievably, there's no book written in Japanese on the Bangladesh history. Can you believe that? So, when I got the indication to go to Bangladesh, well, while I was in the foreign ministry, I've been posted so many, different type of posts, and the first ambassador post was in Lebanon. So at that time, before that, the Japanese the Japanese radical groups attempted to hijack, at Dhaka airport, and the Bangladesh government, even many people died on that, in that incident, and the Bangladesh government helped a lot on the Japanese side. So, but the Japanese police, they started to trace those members of the Japanese Red Army. And finally, after 6 or 7 years later, they finally traced their hiding in the city of Bangladesh. So Japanese police, they made great jobs in tracing finally, those where they are hiding. And then next job was I have to negotiate with Lebanese government to extradite them to Tokyo. In Bangladesh, Lebanon, that country is composed of Christians and Muslims, as you may know. And the conflicts between the two groups is so how do I say, so hard. Then as for the traditions of those Japanese, Red Army's, color police, the Muslim people said, well, they spent their important, youth life for the cause of, Muslims. How come we can send back to Tokyo when the business was over? So, and while Christians, or the government many Christians said, well, it's a good chance for us to have good relations, or new relations with Japan, and introduce Japanese capital to develop Muslim, Lebanon's, industry. So they can't agree with. So I simply visit, foreign ministry. Well, please, authorize them. And the Japanese side is waiting for them to see. And finally, well, among the 5 members, Okamoto Kozo was the most famous person. He was the students of Kumamoto University. So Kumamoto University is only national university in Kyushu Island. It's very brilliant, very brilliant. But he was caught when they shooting, at random passenger from the airport, from the airplane, and many people were killed. They are from the United States. And it's quite natural they are hung up, if I can say freely. But the Muslim people said, we have to save him. So the government cannot, find a compromise, between Christians and Muslims, forces. So the Japanese government asked me, well, you have to get back Okamoto at least. So every day, I visited the foreign ministry of Lebanon. But he explained, well, we can't do that. What we can is very limited. Look at the situation. Look at the attitude of the Christian. Look at the attitude of the Muslim. They can't be so serious, to a position. Anyway, and finally, Okamoto was granted first asylum in Israeli history. And so we could get back remaining 4 members of the Red Army who participated in the hijack. So, I have very hard time. I was there more than 1 year there, and from the beginning to the last day, I was involved in this matter. And and after some time, I went back. I was proposed the post in the Western Europe as ambassador. But I've been to as the consul general in Edinburgh, and also I was in let me see, but anyway, it's not so important. So I volunteered to go to developing country because I should be involved in the ODA, matters, so that we could contribute the nation building of developing countries. So next day, the personal divisions showed me the list of 5 developing countries. I found Bangladesh, so I immediately chose it, and it's settled. So I came to Bangladesh with very happy, such situations, and when we probably true of the diplomats of your country, when we get instruction to go to a certain country, first things we do is go to the bookshop to find that country's history, so that we could learn what kind of attitude they have taken toward, the neighboring countries or the major countries, so such a middle income and the middle level countries like Japan. And but I visited 6 or 7 bookshops in Tokyo, but I couldn't find any book on Bangladesh history. Can you believe that? So after when I came back from Lebanon, I published 1 book on Lebanese history. So in case of Lebanon, it was a comprehensive history. My book is the first one. But anyway, as far as Bangladesh is concerned, no book. I could find the report by journalists when Independence War, was actually at the highest level. So at that time, I can't believe that situation. But anyway, on that point, at the bookshop, the last bookshop, okay, then I read it, based upon my experience in writing the book on Lebanon. you know, what I wrote in my short paper, how I've collected necessary information in the writing Bangladesh history. And before, I was told my friends who had been, stationed in Bangladesh, he or they, several of them said the same thing to me. Okay, just a few words. Well, Bangladesh people like to invite foreigners for dinners to hear about the situations of his country or the worldwide and generally. So after I arrived, here, almost every day I was invited by the Bangladeshi friends. So every time I prepared the questions on the Bangladesh history, I studied a lot, and I screened the question. And every time I prepared 8 or 9, less than 10 questions. Then as soon as I went home, I wrote down on my notebooks. Then I accumulated the information of Bangladesh history little by little. Then after almost 2 years, I went back to Japan, and immediately I started to write a book on Bangladesh. And that's why that book appeared at bookshops. So I'm very happy with this experience. And when I meet the Bangladesh people for the first time, many of them, oh, you are Mr. Horiguchi, who kindly wrote the book history of Bangladesh. So I was very happy, making that book and pleased by the Bangladesh people, so many Bangladesh people. So that's, that's the point I wish to introduce to you. Well, in other times, shortage, I don't stop here. Yes, okay, I stop here, sorry. Thank you very much for giving me the time. So if you have time and you have any questions, I'm so happy to respond to any questions.
Gopadi, please unmute yourself.
Amitabh, what you were saying, I couldn't hear, beg your pardon.
No, I just wanted to say that unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Horiguchi, for your very valuable, beautiful speech. We are hoping that we will get to another time as a speaker in this forum.
Well,
We
thank you
hope
very
so,
much.
sir.
Thank you very much for that
But
one.
Gopadi, I think if participants have any question or comments, then we can invite that.
Okay,
Usually we don't do
can
that.
we invite questions?
Yeah, usually we don't do that in valedictory lectures, but Professor Horiguchi has already expressed that if there is any question or comments, she would like to address
Yes.
that. It's so kind of you,
Yes.
Professor Horiguchi.
It's my real
I
pleasure.
think
Usually
comments
we
are
don't invite
coming.
lectures.
Oh.
I mean, comments or questions after valedictory lectures. But the fact that you have agreed to this,
Sure.
I think I'm sure participants might want to comment or express their questions.
Will we go for the next speaker then, Amitabh?
No, I think Gopadi Krishnadi has already raised her hand. So I think let us have a brief question answer session.
Okay, okay.
Yes, Krishnadi, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, Krishnadi, you are.
Okay, thank you, Amitabh. I must congratulate Honorable Horiguchi for his enlightening
Thank you.
lecture. Thank you very much. I know that the Japanese people and the Bengali people, they have a great bondage from the time of Tagore. At Shantiniketan, Japanese language and culture was very much cultured. at the time of Tagore began this trend. And when I was in Japan in 2015 for a very short stay to attend that ISDS conference in 2015, I also saw that a Japanese teacher in that University of Tokyo University of Foreign Studies, Japanese teachers, students, young boys and girls, they could speak Bengali very well, and they could sing and dance Tagore songs. And I know that people are very much interested, and Bengali people are also studying Japanese. I met one Bengali lady, Gita. She knows Japanese very well. But what about the common Japanese people? Are they still interested to know Bengali language and culture?
You mean me? Of course I am. Well, so may I respond to her question? Ms. Amitama, it's okay for me to respond to her? Well, anyway, it's a good opportunity for me to respond to such questions. So thank you very much for your kind words. And I wish to say that, you know, there are many similarities between Bangladeshi people and Japanese. And I found two reasons why we like each other so much. Two reasons. One is this climate. We have monsoon seasons. You too. And we say typhoon. And the way of calling that violent, you know, weather a different way. But how do I say, phenomena the same. And because of this, you know, rain, both Bangladeshi people and the Japanese, they live on rice. You know, rice farming depends on such adequate amount of water. And, you know, for seasons. It's very important. We have very similar, you know, the physical conditions. I'm very happy with that. As a result, and one more important factor I found, I think, and I'd like to hear your views if you have any opinion. Because of your country, now many people, majority of the people are Muslim. But for the 18th century, the Buddhism has been believed by a large number of Bangladeshi people. That the influence of Buddhism, I found, you know, when I see your reaction, your behaviors, you know, when I arrived here a long time ago, I noticed, come on, that's the same with us. Now I found why. Then I traced. This is because of the Buddhism influence. Well, it's a long time. It's been overtaken by the you know, Muslim, but still the influence of the Buddhism lives among the people, their behaviors, their way of thinking, especially the attitudes toward, you know, foreigners. They're very kind, very modest. I believe with the Japanese, I think, you know, not everyone I know, but many of them behave that way, in a similar way to Bangladesh. That similarity, you know, we found such a very good, you know, feeling with each other. As soon as we meet, you know, even if it's for the first, you know, meeting, we have a good feeling with each other. So.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Horiguchi, for your kind reply. And now, may I request the secretary of our Bangladesh chapter, Masayo Takawa, to comment on this session. Please,
Japan
sir.
chapter, Upadi. But Upadi, before you invite Togawa, can I have a question for Mr. Horiguchi?
Yeah, absolutely, you can, of course.
First of all, Horiguchi Sensei, thanks a lot. I have two questions. One is, of course, the Japanese elite supported Bangladesh's movement for independence. And I remember particularly because I saw a photograph of our first president of International Society of Bengal Studies, Professor Nara, when during that movement, he was also on the roads collecting donations.
Yes, I have that.
Yeah. So I would love to know, apart from the Japanese state and elite, how was the popular response towards when Bangladesh was trying to or fighting for its independence?
Well,
Okay, yeah, please.
Amitabh, thank you very much for your kind of questions. So I can safely say that so all the Japanese who have ever met the Japanese, they have very positive impressions, as I told you. So when the Bangladesh, there's such country, Bangladesh, and the people are so nice, and they have some difficulties. I believe so many Japanese are willing to donate, whatever they have, even when the amount is small, but they wish to show our such a positive feeling to Bangladesh. That's why when you have some disasters, natural disasters, but not all the countries like you. But in case of Bangladesh, those organizations, those people who collect, voluntary money, they're rather easy to, how do I say, gather the amount of the funds. So it's because of your character, everything.
So, Professor Horiguchi, can I ask another question?
Sure, please.
I would not have asked it if you are currently a diplomat, but because you are a diplomat. So the question is, mostly we in this subcontinent, we interpret Japan's stand on Bangladesh as its first post-World War free from USA stand on foreign policy. Would you like to comment on that?
Well, Mr. Amitabha, thank you very much for everything which you invited me here. And well, you see, well, I can't say all the Japanese think the same with me, but so far as I know, I was called often for make a speech on Bangladesh, in many parts of Japan, and I never thought my, what I have, image on Bangladesh, which I explained to you. I have to change in some parts. I've never thought that way. So I have no intentions to make exaggerations of my impression. Probably you myself would have found, what I told you quite true.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
May we now request Professor Masayo Takawa? Is he there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you. We'll be delighted, sir, if you comment on this session.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambassador Horiguchi, for today's lecture. Very valuable and stimulating speech today. We learned a lot of things from your discussion today. I feel very fortunate to have Ambassador Horiguchi for the diplomatic relation between Japan and Bangladesh for the development of both countries. And I also feel today that at the same time, I would like to express my respect and appreciation again for the first book in Japanese on the history of Bangladesh. So we hope that you will continue to lead our activities to promote the mutual interest and understanding between Japan and Bangladesh in the future. So thank you very much again for today's lecture.
Well, Professor, thank you very much for your kind word, and I'll do my best so far as I live in this world. And let me show you one thing, concerning Professor Chogawa. Probably all of you may have seen this kind of things. It's by Vivek Somananona Award. And I think the first Japanese, someone told me this, I'm maybe the first Japanese who was, received this award. So it says, this Vivek Somananona Award is given to me, who wrote about Bangladesh in Japanese for the first time in history of 40 years. I'm very pleased with this award. But anyway, I'm very pleased to have met you and exchange views. It's a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
I congratulate you on your success.
Well,
Thank you. Thanks to Professor Horiguchi and Professor Masayo Takawa, our two eminent Japanese speakers. And
thank you.
We are really thankful for this enriching lecture. And we hope that this communication between India, Bangladesh, and Japan will progress very much in future. And we will have more lectures from the renowned person like Professor Horiguchi. Okay, thank you,
very much
sir.
for your kind word. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Gopadi, I think now we can invite Professor Rafiqullah Khan.
Rafiqullah Khan is there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Namaskar,
Gopadi, yeah.
sir. Okay. Let me introduce our next speaker, another eminent speaker from Bangladesh, Professor Dr. Rafiqullah Khan. He is the first Vice Chancellor of Sheikh Hasina University, Netropona. He was a professor in Department of Bangla, University of Dhaka. He was also the director of Bangladesh Cultural Research Center, University of Dhaka, 2013 to 2018. His area of interest is, his area of expertise is Bangla novels and modern poetry. Other major areas of interest with publications are Michael Madhusudhan Dotto, Rabindranath Tagore, Kazi Nazrul Islam, and Hasan Hafizur Rahman. He has received the Bangla Academy Literary Award in 2017. He was awarded Khalekdal Chaudhuri Literary Award in 2019. He is also the secretary of the Bangladesh chapter on the International Society of Bengal Studies. So here is Professor Rafiqullah Khan. We are eager to listen to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all. At first, thanks to Professor Matsuhiro Horiguchi.
It's my pleasure.
The International Society of Bengali Studies. Thanks to International Society of Bengali Studies for year-long celebration of Silver Jubilee of Bangladesh liberation. In this day in 1971, our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, declared independence of Bangladesh. 51 years ago, on this day, Bangladesh was born out of a bloody war. In the face of brutal massacre, by the Pakistani military, the freedom-loving people of this land, with their unwavering resolve and monumental sacrifices, steered the course of history of the Bengali nation towards a new beginning. Today marked the golden jubilee of the Bangladesh Revolution. Not today, 1 year ago. As we celebrate the auspicious occasion, we humbly remember and reflect on the valiant freedom fighters and all the men and women who sacrificed so much to free us from the shackles of Pakistani tyranny. We pay our deepest respects to the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who led us in our struggle for freedom, and all our national leaders who laid the foundations of an independent nation, Bangladesh. In the last 51 years, Bangladesh has achieved countless milestones in its development journey. However, there are also shortcomings which betray the spirit of our liberation war. Now would be a good time for sincere introspection and renewal of the pledge of fulfill the dream of the freedom fighters and martyrs by working and establish a just society where everyone is free and equal, led the love of the freedom. So this is my remark, and I highly delighted from Professor Horiguchi. Thanks to him. Thanks all our
Thank you very much for your kind words.
professors and everyone for join with us celebrating Silver Jubilee of Bangladesh liberation. Thanks to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rafiqullah Khan. So, Gopadi, if you would like to put forward your comments.
Okay. Can you hear me, Amitabh?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, as Rafiqullah Khan was remembering the days of bloodbath in Bangladesh. I was the first year student in Presidency College in 1971. I can clearly remember the turbulent time, and over 1 crore refugees came to India, and the brutal killing, mass killing, it was actually a genocide. It was actually a genocide. Though the world's recognition of genocide came a bit late. So from March to December, Bangladesh went through very cruel and not only cruel, I think I can't express in my language. I think lakhs of people were massacred. Lakhs of people were massacred, and it was a great task. And the Bengalis showed what they could do, And Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he was also in prison at that time. his leadership, his able leadership. I can still remember his lecture. It was ringing in every house in West Bengal also. All India Radio used to broadcast that lecture of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Rafiqullah Shah, sir, his speech helped me to remember those days. And now Bangladesh is a free country and it is doing great progress in all fields, in economic fields, in social fields, in education, in other aspects. And best of luck for Bangladesh. And that much I can say.
Thank you, Gopadi. I know that whenever Bengalis speak about Bangladesh's liberation, this choked voice of emotion is something which tells us what Bangladesh's independence means to Bengalis all through the world, whether we are living in India or out of the subcontinent.
And they chose Rabindranath Tagore's Amar Sonar Bangla, Ami Tomaye Bhalobashi as their national song.
Exactly.
And we are the spectators of the rise of this new nation. We are the not only spectators, actually, we are on the on almost the same platform as we are also Bengalis. It's the other part of Bengal, no? We shared their glory.
I think for the history of Bengal and Bengali identity, 1971, 1952, and 1971 had been two most important points of departure in the modern history. Because unlike the other divided parts of India, Bangladesh's liberation proved that the linguistic identity prevailed, cultural identity prevailed over religious divide. And that gave Bengalis over the world a certainty that we have corrected historical, I won't say wrong, but historical, okay, a historical wrong calculation. We are so proud to conclude this session, this year-long program, with Professor Horiguchi's lecture, because history tells us that after India, Japan was the first country to recognize Bangladesh as an independent country.
Absolutely.
Even after independence, till today, Japan remains the both in terms of government and non-governmental investment, Japan remains the first one to contribute to Bangladesh's development. From my personal experience, I know that even though there have been groups which are trying to vitiate this relationship, and when in unfortunate moments, even Japanese citizens who are working in Bangladesh were killed. And Japan was shocked. I was in Japan most probably at that time. Even then, the Japanese Prime Minister ensured that Bangladesh will continue to get the support of Japan. And hence, it is very important. Historically, it was required that we needed to conclude with a Japanese speaker. And we are fortunate to have a speaker who had been an ambassador to Bangladesh.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why we are so thankful to you, Professor Horiguchi.
Thank you.
Of course, there will be other points, like the way you brought in your lecture, your experience of other countries where you have worked in, your experience of how you went to bookshops and what you experienced. These are of academic value. But today is 26 March. I think for Bengalis, this is a moment of emotion.
Amitabh,
Yes, Gopal,
may I mention here
please.
the name of the woman, Horiprabha Takeda,
Right,
Bongo Mohilar Japan Jatra.
Right.
He was the person who first married a Japanese businessman in
Right.
Dhaka and
Right.
went to Japan with him.
Right. So,
That is the first communication in modern age, I mean,
Right.
cultural level.
right.
Professor Amitabh,
Yes,
I want to include a sentence.
yes.
Our International Society of Bengali Studies' first president, Professor Sushi Nara,
Yeah.
was a freedom fighter in Bangladesh independence war.
Right. I just mentioned that while I was asking that question to Professor Horiguchi. So it's only historically right that our valedictory session has a speaker from Japan. And also, it's only historically right that today's session has been sponsored by Tokyo University of Foreign Studies under a project of JSPS, Japanese Society for the Promotion of Sciences. Thanks to the secretary of our International Society of Bengal Studies Japan chapter, Professor Masahiko Togawa. It almost feels like, okay, I mean, we are sort of emotional on such days. It only fits historically right that we are concluding this year-long journey with sponsorship from our Japan chapter and with the speaker from Japan. I'm sure there could have been a lot of discussion on the academic aspect, diplomatic aspect. I think what prevails beyond the nitty-gritties is the fact that even when Japanese citizens were attacked in Bangladesh by some extreme groups, even then Japan stood by Bangladesh. And hence, I'll just conclude by saying that on the golden jubilee of Bangladesh's independence, we have had a year-long journey. We are concluding here today. We are hoping to come out with a book very soon. We are supposed to bring out today, but being truthful to Bengali nature of working, we could not publish it today. And being truthful to the Bengali nature, we'll publish it very soon. So again, my thanks to all the participants, my sincere gratitude to Professor Horiguchi. And of course, Professor Rafiqullah Khan is the Vice Chancellor of Sheikh Hasina University. But he is as well our Rafiq, the Secretary of Bangladesh chapter. So, yeah, thank to you also, Rafiq. And of course, thanks to Upadi. That emotionally choked voice was required for today's session. Thanks a lot to everyone. Now
Thank you, Amitabh, also.
So now with our chair president's permission, we'll close the session.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Shobaike dhonnobad.
Thank you so much.
Arigatou gozaimashita.
Arigatou gozaimashita.
Thanks to all from Bangladesh.
Thank you.
So I'm closing it now.